Akio. This is Akio, and this is Akio's roadmap to success. Now he's going to move away off camera. I usually have a dog sitting here with me, but he's just pretty nervous in the service. So in this video, I want to just kind of summarize the stuff we talked about in the session. Now the Guardian has actually done a lot of the right things. There's some little twists that we added that I think will help. Akio. And this is kind of a little bit of what I was doing in the last video, just getting the practice coming in. However, the Guardian, before we filmed this, said that she needed to use the loo. And when she did, she closed the door behind me, and he kind of got a little bit unnerved about that. And so one of the things I didn't even really consider, but he might have a little bit of separation anxiety, and he's with his Guardian, he feels the need to protect her. So we might, just like anything else, we might be dealing with multiple issues here. And so basically, for separation anxiety, the dog basically doesn't know how to be without the person. Now, sometimes it's just, I can't be alone. Sometimes I can't be away from a specific person. Now, when he's at daycare, he's okay because he's very well distracted. Here, buddy, come. Come. Remember, always to say the command word after the treat goes in his mouth. Come. Akio. Come. You just lay down instead. So I'm not going to ask him multiple times, because the more I say it, the less I mean it. So one of the things I'd like the Guardian to do, I wish I had my camera because that's a good pose, is to teach him to stay. Now the Guardians actually are doing a little bit of that. They're teaching really more of a wait. And the way they're doing it, I really hope they don't do that anymore, because they're really training him to auto-release, and that actually is going to backfire. And so what they do is they leave the door open, tell him to wait, and then they go downstairs and they wait until he does break the rule. And when you're teaching your dog to stay or to wait, you need 100% success rate the whole time, otherwise it invalidates the exercise. So I teach to stay for the 3 Ds. First, for duration. I have the dog sit right here and I say stay, I put my hand back and I count to 1, I give him a treat and say stay. I say stay and I count to 2 or 3, and then I give him the treat and say stay. And I keep doing that until I can work my way up to 5 minutes. Now, you're not going to go in one stretch. It's going to be a whole lot of little ones. Only when I can get the dog to stay right here without me moving away do I start adding in distance. And so if you want to teach him to do that, I recommend this highly. If I don't have it linked on the right up here on the page on Dog Gun Problems, message me and I'll send you a video that'll help you with that. Because I think a little bit, he's very nervous, and one of the things the Guardian asked me at the end of the session was, how do I get him to stop being so nervous? Well, this is really cortisol in his blood, and so it becomes a physical manifestation. And so it's not like he'd say just stop being nervous. We have to stop the reason that's causing his cortisol to be released into his blood. Akio, I have something else for you, buddy. Now, his Guardian gives him bully sticks, which I recommend against giving because they're soaked in formaldehyde, bleach, ammonia, a lot of other nasty chemicals. You can take it, buddy. So I'm just going to sample it. There we go. There you go. So he's going to be happy as a clam. He's doing something we don't want him to do from now on, getting up on the furniture, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So don't practice having him opening the door and waiting for him to fail. Instead, practice the stay exercise. And once you get up to the point where you can stay and start adding in duration, and he can stay, then you want to, first time you pop out of sight just for a second, but eventually you get to the point where you put him as stay and leave the room and go to the bathroom and then come back and release him, or put him as stay and go get a drink of water. The idea is to help him practice being alone when he knows you're still at home, but you're not leaving him completely, so he can get better and gain more confidence for that. One other thing I want to talk about not doing is one of the Guardians likes to play with him. And he does, in a way, he means the very best, but he kind of puts a hoodie on and pulls it really close, and he kind of, ooga booga, kind of scares him in a playful sort of way, and sometimes it causes the dog to run up behind his Guardian. I'm sure there are worse things you can do. I cannot think of any worse things to do right now, so I would never do that again. Playing roughhousing with the dog, all that stuff is fine, but anything that spooks your dog, you already have a dog that has cortisol in his blood. He essentially has post-traumatic stress disorder. If you had a veteran who has PTSD, you would never, ever even think about doing something that would scare him and think it's funny. And I know when it's dogs, we look at it a little bit differently, but it's absolutely going to amplify the problem that you have outside. And so even though he doesn't do it as much with that particular Guardian, I would never do that again. Never do anything that's going to scare or spook him, because he already has confidence issues. We need to build him up, not bring him down, even if it's a tiny bit or if meant in jest or funny. Okay, so I went through a lot of ways to add structure. I went over my petting with a purpose method, which is if one of the guardians pets the dog so much he doesn't have to ask for it. And if she didn't, I'm pretty sure he would be nudging her at times to ask for attention. So we want to stop doing that. Instead, we want to make him earn that affection. Because just like humans, when a dog earns the reward, they feel a sense of pride and self-esteem. So ask him to sit before you pet him, even if you just the one who wants to pet him. And once he sits, pet him under his chin, say the word sit, and only the word sit. Don't say good sit, or oh, what a smart dog you are, look at how you sat. Just sit. And don't say sit, just say sit. And so if he's already sitting, ask him to come and sit over here, or ask him to lie down. So he has to pay for the privilege of your attention through some sort of action, changing his state. After a while, what will happen is he'll come sit in front of you to prepay for the attention. When he does that, make sure you pet him under his chin and say whatever it is. Otherwise, he'll go back to doing the other things to get attention. Well, I guess not for you, because most dogs are pawing for attention. But that will boost his self-esteem and confidence. It will also help him start to see and respect the human as a leader, because she doesn't give me attention for no reason. I have to earn this affection. And the more he does that, the more his self-esteem goes up, the less insecure he is, the less cortisol in his blood. All these things will be interconnected. Now I also have a watch word for this called paycheck. So if I come in the room and see someone's petting and he's standing, I suspect that person may have forgot to pet with a purpose. So if that's the case, then I would say paycheck. That person has to stop petting, tells the dog to sit. When he sits, pets him under his chin, say the word sit, and nothing else. And then we can explain to the other person, I asked him to sit before he came in the room, you missed it. Now, the other thing we want to do is what I call passive training. Passive training is basically waiting for the dog to organically offer you a behavior voluntarily without any influence from you whatsoever. So if I'm just kind of hanging out and the dog came up to me, I would just pet him and say, come. If he came and sit down next to me, I'd pet him and say, sit. If he lays down, I'd pet him and say, crash is the word I like to use. If it brings me a specific toy, I would name all the toys which guardians have already done. The idea is we're waiting for the dog to do the behavior on its own. We're marking it within 3 seconds by saying the command word and then giving them a reinforcer, whether it's petting or a treat or whatever the case may be. Now, you have a window of 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog for them to have the ability to make the connection, but it has to be repeated consistently. Oftentimes, we think of breaking the rules as a positive or a way to reward the dog. It actually just confuses the heck out of them. So once you're enforcing a rule, be consistent about it for at least 30 days, and then only allow the dog to I would say break the rule, but have that privilege for good behavior and with an invitation from you. And so if one of the rules is shouldn't be allowed on the furniture, because the higher a dog sits, the more rank or social status they have. This is actually his bed where he likes to hang out. So I would basically condition him to go down here and not allow him on the furniture. Now he's going to put up a fight about this because he likes the furniture. He likes seeing himself the same as you. But if he has the same rights and privileges as you, then he feels that he needs to protect you, and that's why he feels insecure. That's why he's lashing out. That's why he's reacting. It's also why the cortisol is in his blood, because the guardians don't see him as a leader. So that stresses him out even more, because he's like, man, they don't even listen to me. I have to bark and make other people move away to protect my humans before they get taken advantage of. Now, one other thing that we talked about was when the guardian comes home. One of the guardians come home, and I hear this a lot from my clients, but I don't mind X behavior. But all these things are usually interconnected. Unbalanced states of mind include excitement. A lot of us confuse excited for happy when it comes to our dogs, but a dog can be happy and calm. So if our dog comes in and we pet it, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're specifically amplifying or rewarding. So if our dog comes in and it's excited, we pet it, we're going to make it slightly more excited. And since we do this multiple times a day, each time you're going to make him a little bit more. And if you have an important decision, you're not going to make it when you're overexcited. You want to be in a calm and balanced state of mind. So we want to help him practice achieving that, and we help him practice that through other analogs and other ways of doing that. A great way to do that is when we come home. Now, he likes to jump up on the guardian when you come home too, and that's a way when a dog jumps on someone who comes through a door, that's the dog's way of saying, you belong to me, I'm claiming you, or hey, I want you to know I'm in charge around here. In this case, I think it's more of a claiming sort of thing. And so we would shrug that off or maybe hiss at him before he actually jumps up. Hissing is my way of saying no, like tss. And his ears just went up. So I have 10 hisses. I have a level 1 hiss, which is like, I'm going to have the guardian turn and watch him real quick. He stopped. He was chewing a bully stick. He stopped and he's staring at me right now. Now he went back to his bully stick. So that was closer to like a 7 or 8. Just like us, there's a difference between no and yelling no, and that's more of a yell. They dealt with a trainer, which actually was a really good trainer. A lot of times when I talk to people that deal with trainers, they were doing all the wrong things. One of the things the trainers did was get a can of air horn if he's really freaking out and not listening. And they only use that in emergency situations and for other reasons. They don't like using that. That's a safeguard if you need to. But the hiss is something that dogs respond to because cats, skunks, snakes, cougars, mountain lions, even bunny rabbits make a hissing sound as a warning. So I use that when I say, no, don't do that, don't even think about doing that. Do it before he does the wrong thing. Once he's reacting, he's not going to hear the hiss, so don't hiss at him for that, but for other things. So if he's walking towards the couch and he's going to try to jump up, we might hiss at him when he's about 2 or 3 feet away. That's where I have to say no. So when we come home, we're not going to let him jump up on us, but we're also not going to engage with him. Now, I call this light switch on, light switch off. Light switch off is engaging with the dog when it does things we want, a little bit of kind of passive training. And then light switch off is disengaging when the dog does things we don't like. We do this ourselves. If I'm on a date with a girl, I start talking about something she doesn't like, she disengages. She leans back, she crosses her arms, she looks away, she looks at her phone. I'm losing her in the conversation. She's communicating to me, I don't like whatever it is you're talking about. And then if I start talking to her about, like, you know, how I teach puppy class and she loves puppies, she might like lean in like this. So she's telling me through her actions that she likes or doesn't like what I'm doing. We can do the same thing with the dog. We call this operant conditioning. So when we come in the door, we're going to ignore the dog completely because it's all sassy and excited, unless it tries to jump up because we don't want to allow it to do that. And then once it gets down, it's going to follow us around and be all excited. And wait, don't tell it to calm down. We're telling it through our actions. Most people micromanage their dog. Sit, go here, go there, go, don't do this, do that. And then that's fine, but we have to be there to tell the dog what to do. I like to use the same method that we use when we're raising kids, is we want to give them good moral values. We want to teach them the broad strokes so they can put them in a situation we can't imagine that situation, but they have the skill set to survive and get themselves through it. So basically for operant conditioning for this, when we come through, we're going to not let the dog jump up on us. Then we're going to walk around and put our bags down and do all the regular stuff and wait for the dog to completely calm down. If he whimpers or whines or cries, don't even look at him because any attention is validating. And let's say he finally comes over and he sits down here and he's calm. He's not whimpering or doing anything. I'm going to start reaching for him. I probably only get this far before he's going to start wiggling. Put your arm back down and just pull out your phone, check a message, turn the TV on, read a magazine, whatever it is. Wait for him to settle down completely. When he is, you reach a little bit more, and then he gets excited, pull back, and do your own thing. At first it'll be like this, then it'll be like this, then like this. You're going to get closer and closer before he starts doing it. And it's going to take a while before he realizes, so when I get excited, she loses interest. When I'm calm, I'm very attractive to her. Well, I like her attention. So after enough repetition of her stopping and turning the light switch off, I'm going to start doing the things that she wants, which is why we talked about passive training and petting with a purpose. Those are ways to jumpstart it. But any behavior you can influence one way or the other. I have a dog named Quest, and I was a little bit more relaxed with him when he was a puppy than I was with my other dogs. So he likes to jump up, or kind of like paw at me when he wants attention. So I'm sitting there watching TV, and he comes and he puts his paw up here on the chair. Well, when he does that, I actually turn and lean away from him. And then as soon as he puts his paw down, I reach over and start petting him. So I'm telling you through my actions that pawing at me actually has the opposite effect of what you're looking to do. Now, in his case, he's not doing a lot of that, but he also, I think, is confused as where his position of higher is with the family. And so if we don't give him that clear sense of this is where your position is, he's going to push the boundaries and try to do these other things. And I think that's why he's stressed out, because he thinks he's in charge, but we're not listening to him. And that makes him have to act out even more. I showed the Guardian a little bit of BAT training or behavior adjustment training, which we might need to do if these changes don't work. The Guardians, like I said, are doing a really good job, except for the hoodie thing and the stay thing. A lot of what they're doing are the right things. Be careful you don't say "good boy" when he's stressed out, because that's a very common thing where we can actually create a command where "good boy" means get really really anxious, because the only time I hear "good boy," or most of the time I hear it, is when I'm outside being anxious. What I'd like you to do instead is call him towards you and give him a treat and say the word "away" or "recall" or something that means to move away. What we want to do is mark that behavior. So if he sees the other dog start staring at it, he's about to burst out and explode to make the other dog or person move away. So what we do, and this is part of BAT training, is as soon as he's kind of like hanging out, and as soon as he sees something he doesn't like, he's going to stare and get stiff. And you guys have already identified a lot of his body language. The idea is as soon as he stares and gets stiff, he's on the road to exploding. The whole point is to get him out of that situation before he explodes. So if you're out walking around and there's a lot of dogs in the neighborhood or whatever, I mean, sometimes you can use these. The Guardians knows that sometimes when it gets too intense, he's not going to, doesn't matter what he is, Well, the smell of the food is the most important thing. If there's Chipotle down on 3rd Street, there's probably more around. Warm chicken is very appealing to dogs. So if you have some warm chicken with you and you go out at 5 o'clock when you know there's going to be a lot of people there, just find an area where you're kind of near an alley or a walkway or something you can move away. So a dog's walking down the street, you just kind of hang out, and as soon as the dog starts staring, then you kind of walk a little bit away and you call him, and when he comes to you, you give him the chicken and say away. What we did is we taught him, you know what, if you don't like the look of the dog that's approaching you, a great way to keep the distance is moving away yourself. And that's what we wanted to learn the dog to learn to do is if I don't want to do something, I just move away and my humans are going to listen to me. Unfortunately, a lot of the humans don't listen. They pull the dog along with them. So if you're walking your dog and he kind of starts being hesitant, and the guardian, he actually did this a little bit when I first showed up, and the guardian, to her credit, did a really good job. She kind of paused. A lot of people just jerk that leash or pull the leash and just, come on, damn it, she was very in tune to what's going on with him, which is awesome. But we want to make sure that we get him out of trouble before he gets himself in trouble. I'd also like the guardian to, especially the one that he's more reactive around, is to play a little bit of hard to get with him. Don't dote on him too much. Make him kind of earn things, and that will really help. Another thing you can do is teaching him new tricks or commands. He seems to be a pretty smart dog. So if we teach him some new tricks and commands, not only do you have different ways of redirecting his attention, but the guardian is involved with teaching him these new tricks or commands, which makes her appear as more of an authority figure, and also can help him feel more relaxed. Now, you guys can't see it off camera, but I gave him that bully stick where you saw earlier. He is on the couch, but he has his back to me. That's a really significant thing for dogs. If you didn't trust me, he'd be chewing on the bully stick looking at me. So if I got up or did something, he could run away or attack me or whatever he's doing. When he puts his back to something, that's a big indicator. So make sure that you look for those little warning signs. Now, again, get a dog bed, or you can use this. I like to put it in front of the TV. It's a little bit far away from your couch, but I like putting it in front of the TV because the dog's like, man, look at them. They're just looking at me all day long. They're just staring at me. You're really not. You're just watching Westworld on the TV above us, but the dog doesn't know that. And giving him a place to go when we take away the furniture is a great way to do that. Some of the other things I'd like the guardians to be eating themselves before they feed him. All they have to do is eat 5 or more bites of a chip or cracker or whatever it is. Can't be a smoothie, it can't be coffee, they don't understand liquids is that. Then you feed the dog. Now when he eats, give him a command word to eat. What's your favorite restaurant? Find whatever your favorite meal is, or restaurant, or whatever it is. What's that place on Rose, the vegan restaurant that has all the weird names for all the food? You'll think of it in a second.
There's a few. There's the Butcher's Daughter.
No.
Cafe Gratitude.
Yeah, Cafe Gratitude. So maybe call it gratitude every time he eats. I have some people call it sushi or pho or lasagna. So every time he takes his first bite of food for 2 months, he hears the word pho, if that's a word you're going to use. After a while, you say pho, and he runs over there to eat his food because the only time I hear pho is when I have food in my mouth. The context of that means that I'm going to get some food. So the idea is we create a vocabulary for that. He also has some accidents in the house. So one of the first things we talked about was potty training, remedial potty training. And the expression is, I think you want to go potty, which is too many words. Dogs key on the first word we say, which is why I always recommend using one-word commands and not adjectives like good or go or bad. So the idea is for potty training, come up with a new word, one-word command, business, deposit, whatever you want to say. Say blue, it doesn't matter, but try to come up with a funny word because there's already tension here. And when you're training in new tricks or commands, come up with fun command words. If you want to say bang, you're dead, bang could be the word, but maybe say Capone or something like that's more cute. And let me back up and go on the tricks and commands before we go over potty training. So what I'd like the guardian to do is once a week, or however long it takes, but try to make it once a week. Go on Sunday or Monday, whatever the day of the week is, go to YouTube, search or Google, search for funny dog tricks. There's one that I do that's just teaching the dog to walk in a circle. It's super simple. The dog's head's here, you hold the treat out and lure it around, and when it does a full 360, you pop the treat in its mouth, and I say hurricane, that's the word I use for that one. And after I've done it now, I can say hurricane, my dog does a spin. This is really helpful if you have a dog that gets humped at the dog park, because you get it to spin, dog mounts it, you say spin, the dog mounts it, falls off, does it 2 or 3 times, the dog's like, I'm looking for another easy target. And it's also really easy to teach, and it's just a nice way to distract the dog. Also, like I said, the benefit of you teaching him things are going to make him feel better about himself. But make sure you come up with fun command words. And so that way you bring a little bit of levity to the situation. There's already some tension, and make sure that you feel confident, especially the guardians here with me. If you don't feel confident and somebody new comes around, he's going to feel that you're unconfident, and that's going to probably provoke more of a response from him. So you have to be confident. If you can't be confident, just get out of there. Distance is always your friend, so increase the distance until you can feel relaxed, and sometimes you have to move him around so that you can't see it. Going back to potty training. So what we want to do is when he comes back, when we're pottying, when we're out walking, we're going to let him go potty on his own. Now there's a difference between potty and marking. We're going to talk about marking in a second. But for potty training, as soon as he starts to pee or poop, say the word business or whatever the word is you want in a normal tone of voice. When he gets done, crouch down. And for the first week, what I would do is I would have 5 treats. Pop the treat in his mouth and say the word business. When he gets done chewing, pull another one, pop in his treat in his mouth. I want him going, hold on, what did I just do? Because I'm just getting the mother load of treats. I got to remember what I did so I get more of these treats the next time. So you do that for a week. Every time he pees or poop, as long as he's not marking. And then he starts to think, well, I will dare not waste this stuff in the house because this stuff is valuable. I do it outside and I get a reward. Now, so that's basically potty training. If you do that consistently and you say business, when you think he has to go and he kind of bounces around, you know it's a yes. If he doesn't bounce around, then you know it's a no. A lot of times dogs get confused. They just want to say, we say the word and they just think that means to go outside. But putting it in context makes it easier for you. Now, marking is very different. Marking, having an accident in the house by definition is accidental. Marking is intentional. And he's marking the dog bed, he's marking the couch, he was pooping behind the couch. Question, does he ever like walk along the side of the couch and drag his shoulder or look like he's scratching himself?
Yeah.
That's scent marking. You have to immediately disagree with that. That's him saying, this is my house, I'm going to mark this couch and where the dog bed or whatever it is. So if another dog comes in here or a person comes in here, they can smell that I've peed on it so they know that somebody's in charge. So I would not allow him to mark on walks. So let him pee at the beginning of the walk and at the end of the walk or the halfway point of the walk, but you tell him where, but he does not. And if you stop somewhere, he's going to pee on vertical surfaces. And you should know kind of where he wants to pee. So let him pee once. So we're going to have somebody about to, we have the other guardian approaching. He's a coder, so he's one of those crafty guys. Okay, so basically, don't let him mark on walks because that's reinforcing his belief that he's in charge. Also, if the dog, anywhere that he marks between, do what you really need to do. This is just a video for you to watch later, so don't worry about production value or anything. So if you let him mark on walks, every place that he walks in between where he marks and his house, in his mind, it's his territory. In the Midwest, I've had people, the dog goes and marks on the neighbor's lawn next door, and then their dog comes out and it goes and attacks their dog because it thinks it's in their territory. So that's related to leadership. So not letting him mark on things. Please grab a seat and do whatever you want to do. But having that structure where he can't sit at the same level as the humans for a period of time and only with an invitation from the humans. The humans are already doing a great job of making him sit before certain things. I would make sure that you, before you cross streets, make him sit before you cross the street. And they're doing a good job with a lot of that stuff. He looks funny. He's got a stogie in his mouth. He's got the bully stick hanging out. All right, now he's, and also climbing up, and he's very excited. Now, the guardian that just came in doesn't know, but anytime you pet a dog when it's excited, you're going to make him slightly more excited. And excited is not always necessarily happy. And sometimes we get a little confused, or we confuse the dog into thinking, well, they want me to be super excited because that's when they pet me the most. But just like us, the dog's not going to be thinking most clearly when it's in an unbalanced state of mind. All right, what am I forgetting? Make sure you eat first before you feed him. I think I already talked about that. Is there anything else that we talked about that I didn't go over? Counter conditioning. My own memory is actually working well today. Counter conditioning is a replacement behavior. So he's very nervous about a lot of little sounds. I'm pretty sure most of it is related to having cortisol, the stress hormone, in his blood. Same way if I'm in line at a haunted house, if he takes me on the shoulders, what? Because everything's amplified. So that's probably a big culprit. Now for counter conditioning, what I like to do is, let's say that the guardian just actually rode in on a bicycle, and there's a bicycle over there. So if the dog's scared of bicycles, I have this a lot with like skateboards. So you can find a place where people are going to be biking. What the idea is, you want to find a distance far enough away from the stimulus where the dog can sit and take a treat. If it won't sit or won't take a treat that you know it likes, it's saying it's too close and I'm petrified or I'm nervous and I'm ready to go. Just like if you think you're going to get mugged, even if you've been fasting for 3 days, somebody offers you some food, you're not hungry at that particular moment. So the idea is keep moving further away. Let's say that we have to be 20 yards away for him to sit and take a treat while the bicycle passes by. Well, there's a lot of different bicycles. There's one of those loud bicycles, or somebody that's going by with a boombox, with music playing, whatever it is. That's going to make him more reactive. But somebody walking by, very slowly walking or driving by on a bike, that's going to be easier for him to process. So there will be some variables. You might get one bike coming by with an older person slowly, and he can sit at 20 yards, and then another dog, somebody coming by with blasting metal music, the guy's yelling, there's people clapping. You might have to be 30 yards. So being aware of that. So what I do is I take a treat like this, and this is a chicken liver treat, and I smash it. So now it's flat like a pancake. What I do is if this is the dog's head, I can let him nibble on it and make it take 3 or 4 bites before he gets the whole thing. If it's just pop in his mouth, it's gone in a second. And I can also change which direction he looks by moving the treat up and down. Now I'm doing this, imagine this is the dog, this is the dog's top of the head, and this is the snout. So I hold the treat like this with these 3 fingers underneath the chin. So I'm not obscuring his vision. And I want him looking at the skateboard. And so he's nibbling on this as he's watching the skateboard go by. Now the key for this is he has to have the reinforcer, in this case the chicken liver, delivered before he sees the bike. Now the best way to do this, if you can find a place where there's like a bike trail and there's maybe some bushes over here and bushes over here that go this direction. So the dog's visual acuity is from here to here. So I can see this triangular shape pattern. So I can see as a human through the trees, I can see a bicycle, I hear bicycles coming. So right before the bicycle appears out of the lane, and you can actually also have a friend doing it on a bicycle, that makes it easier. So as the bicycle, right before it starts to appear, you let him start chewing on it. So he's chewing on it, and he sees the bicycle is passing by, and he's tracking it, and right as the bicycle goes beyond the last bush, you pull the reinforcer away right as he goes out of sight. So counter conditioning, he doesn't like the bicycle probably moving too fast. He is a little bit of a herding breed, and also he's just anxious in general. So basically, when what he doesn't want to have happen is happening, he's getting a reinforcer. When what he wants to happen happens, the bicycle goes away, the reinforcer stops. So after a while, the dog starts to associate. Bicycle approaching means I get delicious treats. Bicycle leaving means no treats. Can we get more bicycles around here, please? So now once you get to the point where we call this 5 for 5, where I can get 5 bicycles to pass by, and he's chewing on the treat as they go by, and there's no reaction, then I go to, if we're at 20 yards, I go to 19 yards. And I practice again. Now there's also a lot of customization. Maybe you have a bicycle going by at 1 mile an hour, and then eventually 2 miles an hour, at 5, and eventually get as fast as it can go at 20 yards. Then you move to 19 yards. So you have to kind of play around with what he's reacting to. But the whole point of this, he cannot react at all. If he reacts, you push too far, too fast. So let's say we start 20 yards, we go to 19, 18, at 17, he's starting to get a little agitated. And he's easily distracted, he's not as interested in the treat. You're close to his breaking point. The idea is not push beyond his breaking point. This is a very progressive process where we practice multiple practice sessions. So at 17 feet, he's iffy. So as soon as he gets a good one, then we call it a day, we let him walk away, and then we take note of how far away we were. Like we're at 17, 18 yards. So next day we start at 18 or 19 yards. Sometimes we'll start 1 yard back. And the idea is you keep on doing this. So maybe you take 2 feet one day, 1 feet one day. Maybe you're stuck at the same distance for a week. That's okay. You're going to make progress. Eventually you get to the point where the dog is right here and watch them whiz by and doesn't have any hesitation. I've done this with herding breeds that like to herd cars, motorcycles, birds. For people in the Midwest, birds are scooters here on the West Coast. And all sorts of different things. And so counter conditioning is great. If you go slowly, the dog actually likes this. This is basically a version of classical conditioning, Pavlov's dog. So basically, I'm trying to think, is there anything else that I mentioned that we want to go over?
I don't know if you told me, but you told me that there's a reason why he's marking his crate.
Oh, well, the reason he's marking things is he wants everybody to know if somebody comes in that there is a dog in charge. So I think that's related to, you guys had some rules, but not a ton of rules. Now, when he's going to mark, he's going to like walk by it, do a kind of circle around and walk by the second time, sniff it, and then you should be able to start recognizing behavior. That's when you would use that hissing sound. Now, if the hissing sound, it doesn't move away, you're probably not doing it loud enough. The second thing you can do to disagree a dog is stand up abruptly. When dogs communicate with each other, they do it through movement, or dogs communicate through body language and movement. When they communicate through movement, it's typically a singular, bold, sudden movement. So stand up suddenly And the dog will take a step back and be like, oh, you're burning the energy. You stand up, you must be serious. When you stand up, your authority goes whatever direction your belly button is pointing. So when you stand up abruptly, the dog will take a step back, then it's going to qualify, are you talking to me? Kind of the same thing that CHP does when I'm on the 405 and I get CHP behind me, I change lanes right away. If they change lanes with me, I'm probably about to get a ticket. So the dog's going to qualify, are you talking to me? So you stand up abruptly, the dog takes a step back, then he's going to walk over here. So wherever he goes, you pivot with your hips and keep him in front of you until he tells you, I'm done challenging you. And he will tell you he's done challenging you by essentially stop moving. He'll stand, sit, or lie down. So you're tracking. As soon as he stands, sits, or lies down, take 2 steps backwards, and only 2 steps. Most people take about 8 steps backwards. They shuffle their feet. That looks like you're meandering. For dogs, 2 steps backwards, and pause. Ooh, he communicated to me. So the dog starts doing something you don't want. You hiss. That doesn't work. Or you're about to mark. You stand up suddenly. He takes a step back, and he moves around the room. As soon as he's stationary, I take 2 steps back. Left foot, right foot, and I stop. I pause for 1 second. That's the equivalent of putting a period at the end of, I'm just thinking of a funny joke, the end of a sentence. I'm just saying space or tabs because we have a computer coder in the room, so he thinks it's funny. All right, so basically that's the second escalating consequence. I have 4 of them. I didn't really go over them because really when he's reacting, you don't want to use those, you just want to increase distance. But for the marking, you need to let him know. And this sounds a little inappropriate, but for the female in the room, I want her to react, and I want the speed, the timing of her movement to be the same thing as if somebody on the street touched her in an inappropriate place. There's a certain special speed that you have. There's difference if like, stop. So you really, and the dog just stopped and doing that. So you need to communicate, I am not messing around, I am really unhappy. If you pee on that, I'm gonna be very frustrated. But the marking is related to him thinking that he has to protect you guys. So that's why no furniture for 30 days or as long as the problem's still going on, and then furniture with an invitation and only for good behavior. You go to the door, sit. I tell you sit once. If you don't sit within 3 seconds, I'm not gonna repeat myself. The more you say it, the less you mean it. So say sit once. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, walk away. Sit down, turn the TV on, grab your phone, wait 1 minute, and ask Siri or whoever to give you a 60-second timer. After 1 minute, go back to the door and tell him, command. I have a lot of people like, can you sit? And I was like, no, I cannot. Sit. Tell him assertively. If he doesn't sit this time, then walk away for 2 minutes. Next time you walk away for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. Keep doubling the length of time unless he's going to have an accident in the house. But the potty train tips that I covered with you earlier should cover it. But make sure you teach him to stay, because I don't know, I'll ask the other guardian who just arrived, but as soon as the guardian that I've been hearing with most session went behind this door to potty, he kind of became a little unnerved. He started whimpering, pacing around the room. He wouldn't come to me anymore. I was thinking as soon as she left, he'd be all over me. I'd be able to pet him, because when he's off duty, when he's not around here, people can pet him. But he kind of lost it, and that's another indication of insecurity. So and when you have an insecure dog, one of the best things you do is teach him new tricks or commands. If you're going to teach rollover, teach bang your dead next, because those kind of use the same principles. Go to YouTube, because all these dog trainers, like I said, want to get a free TV show or get a TV show. So they'll show you how to do all their tricks for free. And so and you might want to alternate since there's 2 people in the house. Maybe 1 week Guardian A teaches a trick, and then all week long we practice it. Then the next week Guardian B does the trick, and then we practice it all week long. And try to do that with 4 each. The average dog, I didn't ask how many tricks he knows, but the average dog in the United States knows 10 commands. Dogs that have confidence issue, we'd like them to be north of 15 different commands. It can be simple, like I said, circle, roll over, play dead. I wouldn't recommend the paw or shake, because if you like this, you must really like this, is how dogs look at it. Come up with a list of official command words. Most people, we talk to dogs as if they speak English, which they do not. Come here, come here. Come here, over here, here boy, dog's name, dog's nickname, whistle, tap my thigh, and one of the guardian's favorite sounds is a kissing sound. So, they're laughing. But basically, if I have an Emma dog, now instead of having 1 word for come, I have to listen for 10 words. And humans say between 2,000 and 11,000 words every single day. There's 2 humans in the house. If you've ever tried to learn a foreign language, if somebody says 2 words and you know about those words, you understand them. If somebody says a paragraph or soliloquy that includes 2 words that you know really fast, your brain will skip over them because you can't absorb them. And so the more words we use, the harder it is for dogs to understand. So I'd like you guys to come up with a list of the official command words. Come or here or whatever it is, there's no right or wrong word, unless it's too many words, But then if one of the guardians is like, come here, buddy, vocabulary, come. So we just consolidate and make it easier for him. It's easy for us to use one word. It's harder for him to remember a whole bunch of words. But come up with those funny command words and use funny words for those and put them on the list, because again, the more fun command words that you come up with him, especially stuff that's outside. So instead of maybe say away, maybe say flee, and then he runs away. Or I think that's what they say in Monty Python. That's 2 words, but run away. Say it in a funny voice, and then he runs away. People kind of hear it. It's kind of funny, and that helps get him out of trouble before he actually gets in trouble. Also, get yourself a blue training leash. Just go to Amazon, look for training leash. They're usually blue, and it says in letters training down the side. He's a super duper cute dog. Everybody wants to pet him. Well, he doesn't like being petted. And so what I found is if you tell people, oh, he's scared, well, but I'm good with dogs. Well, I'm a professional. I'm good with dogs too, and I listen when people say my dog doesn't want to be touched. We talked about this off camera. So basically, make sure if you get one of those, and just if somebody comes in, oh, that cute dog, oh, he's in training to be a service dog. Well, he's a very good-looking dog. And they'll like walk away, and that's exactly what you want. And I actually am training a dog to be a service dog, and it turned out to be great because he was insecure as well. Well, he just gets used to people aren't trying to pet me. And we want him to be around people without them trying to pet him, so he gains confidence, kind of like in the video that'll be above this on my website. So we teach him, hey, you can approach them and move away at your own volition, and they don't try to talk to you, they don't try to touch you. Nothing in his mind that he thinks is bad happens. And make sure you teach him to catch. Like I talked about in the video above, because that's a great way to have people interact with him. And I would love to have you guys, once he does that catch, do that the 2x4 triangle thing, and then go to Venice Beach and just on a weekend and just get a friend. So you can have one person there, one person here, and he's here a little bit off of Venice Beach, kind of not near the homeless people or art people or whatever they call them. And then as people come by, you're like, hey, can you help me out? My dog's afraid of people he doesn't know. Can you, as you walk by, just throw a treat down there like you're playing craps? Sure. They walk by and throw a treat. He comes up and gets the treat in the same way in the video I did above. And after enough repetition, you think about how many people come by in Venice. You can probably practice 50 of those happens in like 10 minutes. And then you leave. And he's like, wow, that was great. I got a bunch of delicious treats. None of those people touched me, and I was able to move as far away as I felt comfortable. And what you'll notice is he'll get closer and closer and closer. And once you teach him to catch, then you can have them basically, hey, can you just go? And I literally had people, they put a chalk line on the boardwalk, and they said, can you just go right to that chalk line and just toss a treat at my dog? Okay. People love, he's such a cute dog. And just make up a sob story. Somebody scared him, now he's scared of all people. We're just trying to teach him people are good just by playing catch and tossing a treat to him. Would you mind go stand at the line, just toss him a treat as you're walking by? Sure. And then you get 50, 75, 100 practices each time. Do that in a week, and you'll see him getting closer and closer, and then he's just like going to grandma's house. If she always has candy around, you like grandma for other reasons, but that doesn't hurt that grandma has a lot of good candy. Doesn't hurt with dogs. Okay, can we try that one more time? Hey, puppy, come. See if we can get you to come here. There we go. And how do I,
Akio.
Akio. Akio. This crafty devil is Akio, and this is Akio's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Or sometimes you mean it.